What's happening, everybody? It's your man Dame DNYDC, and we back. It's Tuesday night. It's two mics up, man, and we got a great conversation coming to you all tonight. I'm sitting here with my brothers, Sam, Cliff. I'm really excited, man. But before we bring on tonight's guest, I want to welcome in some of you that I see that are starting to come on in. Join the conversation. Let us know where you're joining us from tonight in the chat. But how you gentlemen doing tonight? Sam, how's everything? Cliff, what's good?
What up? What up?
Hey,
What's going on?
how you doing? As always, like I like to say, everything is totally wonderful. I'm here with my brothers,
Indeed.
so we're about to
Indeed.
do this thing. I'm excited.
Yeah. Look, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about something that's near and dear to me. We have a guest that's been here before. You've seen her in past shows. Cliff and I, we are very familiar with her and who she is and the amazing work that she does personally here in the community, here in the DMV community. And she's bringing a new twist, if you will, to some of her past work, which is really impactful and very powerful. And her organization is a nonprofit, and we're going to, allow her to get into it. But I wanted to let a couple of more people come on in. I see people are joining us. So, welcome to tonight's show. And tonight's opening segment is being brought to you by our friends at Chico Rico Hot Sauce. Spicy has never tasted so good. If you haven't done so already, go online and buy yourself a 3-pack, and get that trio. Because, man, look, put it on your food. I'm telling you, you've never had anything so amazing. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring on tonight's guest, the incredibly amazing Olivia Coffey. Olivia, how you doing this evening?
Hey, Damon, how are you? I'm doing great. Thank you for allowing me to come on this show. This is so much fun.
Well, we are proud and love having you here. You're definitely part of Two Mics Up family. And for those who are not familiar with you, and I don't know how because she's been here twice, but we want to allow you to go ahead and grab the mic and Olivia, reintroduce yourself to our audience. Give us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and about your foundation.
Sure. So again, I'm Olivia Coffey. I'm founder of Youth EmpowerMe Foundation. And I have been, by trade, a school counselor, elementary school counselor for the last, I'm going to say 30 plus years because I don't want to date myself.
Wow. Okay.
I have been primarily a counselor in the DMV. I was in DC Public Schools for a while, and presently, and for the last 2 decades, I've been in Charles County Public Schools. So before I retire and before I go off and live by the beach somewhere, hopefully, I created this nonprofit, Youth EmpowerMe Foundation, to be a village for parents and for families, because I'm a mom of 2 young adult boys now. My husband and I needed a village in order to raise these boys up to where they are today. And so I created this nonprofit to be a village for families and to help parents empower their children and help give them the tools that they need to raise successful children. So that's what the foundation is about. And about myself personally, I have 2 boys. They were my students when they were in elementary school. I was their counselor too. And I know how hard it is to raise children, especially today. We can't do it by ourselves. Back in the day, we had like aunts and uncles and grandparents and very close family, friends, and neighbors that kind of, helped us raise our children. I know I had a lot of influence, godparents and people we call auntie, but they were really just friends of the family. You remember those days?
Yes,
But now we
indeed.
don't have that. Now we don't have that. People, especially in the middle class, I look around and you don't see people really fellowshipping, in the neighborhood. They drive up in their driveway, go in their car, in their garage and close the door, and it's no community like it used to be. And
Hmm.
the kids, in my development especially, we didn't have a rec center where the children could sort of feel safe and comfortable and just have fun and play with the neighborhood kids. We don't have that anymore. Um,
Right.
so the nonprofit that I've provided, it gives families an opportunity to be able to connect with their kids. And because a lot of times we're so busy, especially professionals, if you have your own business, many parents, they have to carve in time to really connect with their kids. It's a difference between connecting and interacting, because so we can
Hmm.
interact and take them to practices and dance class and all those things, and you know go to Chick-fil-A for dinner and they eat in the car, after practice. And I'm speaking, from experience myself. But we really need, as parents, to have a time where they can really connect. And that's what I created the Empower Me Mother and Daughter
Hmm.
Summit. And we're planning now, every other year we have the Empower Her. And this year we are excited about hosting the Empower Him
Mm.
Summit. But the summits were created to be able to provide empowerment for the parents and the children together. Instead of having a women's conference, a women's empowerment just for the moms, we have a summit for the moms and their children together. And so they participate in activities and sessions together,
Mm.
and they get the same tools, they learn the same skills, and the parents get the tools that they need to reinforce those skills that the children receive, let's say from their school counselor, myself.
Hmm.
So for instance, I do lessons in the classroom and we talk about like anger management, self-control, and things like that. But if the parents don't have that same information, it sort of it's not as effective.
Yep.
So the summit is the opportunity to teach the parents or to help them reinforce those skills that the kids are learning to help them be able to be successful. So the summit for the boys that's coming up in April is
Hmm.
for not only the moms this time, is for the fathers, and not only just the moms and the mothers and fathers, but it's for the mother figures and the father figures, because many children are being reared by their grandparents.
That's right.
So we want to include every parent, whether it's a grandparent, whether it's an aunt, whoever's in charge of raising that child. And in particular, this particular summit that's coming up is for boys between 8 and
Hmm.
18. Whoever's responsible for raising them is welcomed and invited to participate in the Empower Him, Empower Me Parent Son Summit.
Hmm.
So it could be single parents, single moms, and single dads, because we know now we have children that are being raised by fathers, solely fathers. They may have we have modern families where there are two fathers in the home, two parents that are fathers, and two parents that are mothers. So we want to include all of them. in this particular summit that we're having now. And it's really crucial that everyone who's responsible for raising this son have a chance to connect with this son, as well as learn how to empower this son to become the leader that he's destined and purposed to be. So the theme is leadership. It's called Raising Kings Together,
I love it.
Building Leaders and Strengthening Families. And it's a day to be uplifted and empowered together, the parent and the son. And it's phenomenal, because it's really amazing, because I have really throughout the years been able to meet professionals, business owners that really are vested in uplifting and helping our youth. So for the summits, for instance, I mentioned the Empower Her. We have females that actually are facilitating the sessions with the parents. And for this one coming up, we have all males. So the boys will be able to see, wonderful images of men that are really, really in a position to really be a good example, but also to support them. And not only to support them as youth, but to support their parents. And to be able to just help them continue to bond with their children, because the summit is a time to connect, which is a time of bonding, to create some memories, but also to learn how they can help one another. That's why the summit the title is Empower Him, which is the son, and EmpowerMe is the parent. And so it's a wonderful day for them to learn and grow and bond together.
Listen, I think that's why for me, I can say personally, that's why it was important, and really to be able to sit here with two other men who look like me, come from and share similar stories and backgrounds. I'm not blessed with a son, but I know these two gentlemen are. And just to hear you talk about it, these are the reflections that I look at, in my life, that have helped raise my child, even though she's a girl, but watching them and the work that they pour into their sons is truly amazing. And I find this to be incredible. And that's why I thought it was important for you to come back and talk with us about it, because this really hits home. I can't speak for them, but it speaks home for me when I think about what you're doing and to hear what you're doing. You deserve kudos, and you should be commended for the work that you're doing for both young men and women in our community. And I thank you for sharing that about the summit. And I'm going to back up because I know Sam, you got some questions or a question you wanted to ask.
I do. One question for now. Good evening, Olivia. Pleasure to meet you.
Same here.
So, I was listening to the background of your foundation, and I guess the question that I have is in reference to the event that's about to transpire. You have young men searching for identity, and now you're talking about the culmination of having both women mentoring from the heart, but in that inclusion of having the fathers or male mentors there too. I guess my question is, why do you think it is so important to, have these two conversations? Like, why have them together instead of having them separate or part this time around?
Well, you know what? One of the reasons why I wanted to include the dads along with the moms, if that's your question, is because
Yes.
both mom and dad are so important. Their roles are so important in their child's life. So it's very important to have them. The title of the summit is Raising Kings Together. So, the kings we're referring to as the boys. And together is what the parents have to be able to be a team in order to help this boy get what he needs to succeed. Now, if sometimes we have single parents, of course, but if the other parent is living, they still have to work together. So the summit sort of kind of helps whoever's attending, if it's mom and dad, or if it's just mom or dad, to kind of understand that in order to help this child, this boy, be who he's purposed to be and to be able to navigate this world in the way that needs to be done as far as him being successful, the parents have to work together. And so at the summit, we're having a panel discussion, and it's all men, but it's to talk to the parents on how to co-parent. Because when one parent is not on the same page as the other parent, it causes confusion for the child. And the reason why I implemented this particular topic for the panel discussion is because as a counselor, I have supported so many children, male and female, that of course, if the parents are divorced or separated, or and they're not on the same page, they may have what you call stepdads, bonus moms, and things of that sort. But if they're not if they're responsible for raising, and they're in this child's life, and they are an example of a adult that they can trust and learn from and grow and bond with, they have to be on the same page. They have to understand how their dynamics really, really affect the child. Now, and I'm going to be real transparent. You know, you got parents that don't get along. They don't like each other. They're not together anymore. So yeah, their relationship is not good, but that child, the one thing they have in common is the love for that child. So they have to consider that when they're talking about one another in front of the child. They have to consider that when basically they have to respect the other parent in front of that child. You know, you can't talk negatively about the other parent. So, and then if there's other people involved that's helping with raising that child, like a bonus mom or a bonus dad or stepdad or whatever, you know, you refer to that other parent, they have to understand that it's a team effort. You know, everybody has to be able to co-parent, work together. That's all that is. Is that you in order for that child to be mentally healthy and to continue to grow in the development as far as understanding how to deal with adversity, as well as how they think about themselves, because these are all the adults that they love. And if they're not getting along, it affects the child. So they don't have to get along, but as far as raising their child, they have to be on the same page, and they have to respect one another in the eyes of that child. Because children look at us to learn, you know, the whole relationship thing. They look at how like how the dad treats the mom, how the mom treats the dad. That's how they learn. They learn from what they see, not from what they hear. You know, you can tell them not to do that. Like, for instance, you could say to your child, "You're not supposed to curse. Don't curse," but you cursing. You know,
right.
So you know, you really have to, and they learn how to deal with adversity through us. You know, I had mentioned anger. For instance, at the summit, we're going to have a session on communication and self-control. So if you have one parent that is very aggressive when they're dealing with anger or when things don't go their way, then that child is learning from that, you know, that this is how I behave when I get angry. And if it's a boy, he's going to emulate what the dad does. And if it's a woman, his mom, he's going to be angry because, you know, as females, you know, we do a lot of talking and we could do a lot of yelling, you know, that kind of thing. I know as a daddy's girl, you know, my dad didn't have to yell at me to get me to do what I needed to do. He all he had to do was just say a couple words, and I complied.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
my mom,
Facts.
Whole different story.
my mom had to say the same thing over and over again. You know, he never
Mhm.
had to do that. So we
That's right.
have certain roles, and just biologically, you know, as man versus woman, you know, we have a certain style, but
Yep.
that's okay. But we have to be on the same page.
Page.
You
Yeah.
know, we have to be on the same page.
That
We
is
can't preach one thing and then we're an example of something different.
no, look, that's so true. I could hear my daughter, you know, as she became an adult, her words were, she was like, look, I couldn't say nothing to mom that she wasn't going to run by dad first. And she was like, you know, I know I couldn't get away with nothing because both of you were always on the same page. You know, whatever it was, what your mother say. Don't come to me with nothing, you know, she'd be like, what your father say? So it is very true, understanding roles, but being on the same page, because there were times we didn't agree about, you know, maybe what the outcome should be, but that was for us to
Right.
deal with. But the message in the music was always the same. So you speak in true facts to that. And you know, I see folks that, you know, in the comments, you know, please feel free, you know, to share your thoughts on this. But I'm going to go ahead, Cliff. I'm gonna pass it to you.
Well, first of all, right, let me add to that. My son Jalen, he as he got older, he got smart with it because he thought he could go like to my wife for some things
Mhm.
and then
They
come to
play
me with
you.
something. And my wife will always be like, all right, what did your dad say? So now, well, now he's 22 now, so his decisions is basically on his own. He just looks for approval, making sure he's doing the right things. But now he used to go to my wife and be like, all right, I want to get A, B, C, and D done. How should I present it to dad? Because I know you're going to say, listen, you got to go talk to dad about it. So now he started using my wife as extra guidance, right? To get my approval. But yeah, that was funny because that you said that. But I mean, Olivia, you know it's good talking to you. I've been watching your growth with your empowerment movement for the past 4 or 5 years. And you know, I'm glad to be a sponsor of it. Listen, you know, I like the goodie bags you give out to the sponsors. So it's really it's really dope. It's really dope what you're doing. Here's my thing. I've been seeing some empowerment movements going on. Matter of fact, I saw one about 3 weeks ago in Alexandria, and I thought it was yours, right? And I went around looking and said, "Is Olivia here? Is Olivia here?" It was right, and it was like, no. So I see it's a movement. However, with yours, I see yours marketed, right? I see you on social media. I see emails. I get consistent emails about not just your seminars, but really what are you doing about empowering her, empowering him? Um, what is your concept behind that, right? What do you feel? How do you keep it going so it won't just fade away after a event?
Well, the key is to collaborate with other organizations and nonprofits that support youth and families. So, for instance, back to the summit. The summit is not the only event that we do. We have programs and we have different activities for families. But one of the things that I often do is I try to provide resources for families because, like you said, in an empowerment conference, everybody's, you know, getting empowered and uplifted. But at my summit, I normally have vendors there, and the vendors aren't just for wares, they are really there. Most of my vendors, all of my vendors are, they have organizations and programs that will continue to uplift and help families grow and develop together. So that's the key, is to be able to provide resources after the empowerment program, and to collaborate with other nonprofits and other businesses and other professionals that can serve as mentors, not only mentors for the children, but mentors for the parents, because parents need mentorship too. I mentioned earlier is that we can't raise them by ourselves. We need a support system where parents can continue to get the information they need and the tools that they need to help their children. So that's how, you know, it doesn't stop with just the event. Yes, it's a wonderful memory, it's a wonderful experience, but I always have other businesses, other professionals there to be there to provide an additional resource. So the summits are every year, they're annual, but the resources are to help extend what they learn and what the information they received, and so they can continue to reinforce what they've learned, and also have programs and activities to just help the families continue to grow together. Because it's also about family engagement. I think, as I've tried to mention in the beginning, we get so busy, especially if you have your own business. And like me, I have a full-time job and I have my own business. And then you have youth that really have their own needs too. But what it really, really helps, I think, provide the child or the youth with what they need as they grow and develop is a strong family. I mean, it's all about love, guys.
That's
If
right.
you feel
That's right.
loved by your parents when you're a child, that will help guide you and help you make some good choices for yourself.
Yeah.
And just like some of the other cultures, they really, really, and years ago, you used to call people by their last name, or that's the Coffey boys. We refer
Right.
to my boys as the Coffey boys. And when they were little, we would say, and people would say, because they were into sports, so they would say those are the Coffey boys. But you really, you sort of want to take pride in your last name, and your last name is your family.
That's
So
right.
you want to represent your family well, So I want families to kind of understand that it's really all about the family.
Right.
If of course moms and dads may not be together, but that child still, for instance, a child that has two separate homes, they may be with dad one week and then they may be with mom one week, because that's real. That's what's happening. Most of these kids, and I try to make them understand that that's great. You got two different homes and you got two different places. Let's
That's
talk
true.
about your room at your dad's house. Let's talk about your family at your dad, your family, your bonus mom or your dad. And then when you go home with mom, but I want them to see that it's still a family unit. It's not broken. We often years ago would use the term a broken home.
That's
It's
right.
not. It's your family,
Family.
regardless
That's right.
of where you live and where they live. And when parents, decide to split up, as a counselor, I tell them, I said, let me tell you what they're never going to split away from is you.
That's right.
Because your parents love
Good point.
you. Your parents love
That's right.
you. So if you have a
That bunch of
child that understands that no matter what the dynamics are, that they still are unconditionally loved. And I don't mean spoiled, because that's why we have
Right.
this summit. I want parents to understand that, you have to teach this child, you have to raise this child to be successful. You have
That's
to
right.
teach them boundaries, but you can't teach them if you're having dysfunctional conversations
Right.
around them about the parent that they're not with at that particular time. You know what I'm saying? And you have to help this child. You have to be a good example, and you
Right.
have to be real with them. It's going to be times where things are going to go wrong. People, you're going to lose people. Like today, I was talking to a student that just recently lost his grandfather. So
Wow.
I wanted him to understand that love that you felt from your grandfather, that's never going to go away.
That's right. It's always gonna be
Those
there.
memories that you have from your grandfather. So it's all about strengthening families. And when you strengthen families, you really strengthen our communities, but you build up a child. So that's why I'm passionate about being able to connect, to be able to involve parents in the space with their kids.
Kids, yeah.
So they can work through, like, for instance, even to talk about all the things that are very important, like health and nutrition. I have a chef that's going to do a cooking demo for the family. and show them this is a quick meal that you can prepare together, because I don't know if you guys can cook. Cooking is so bonding when you cook with your parent.
That's true.
My sons, they now can cook for themselves, and they are amazing good chefs. They're good, because that was my opportunity as a female. And back to your question, Sam, as a female, I could bond with my kids when we were cooking. Now, they didn't want to, as a female growing up, I like dolls. I couldn't play dolls with them.
Right.
But it's one thing that we could do that really, as a female, I like to cook. And, boys, they like to keep busy. You know what I'm saying? My boys like doing things with their hands, right? They did Legos and all that kind of stuff. But cooking provides, just, learning, like measurements and stuff. I knew that they were good with numbers. I knew that would help them grow. It would help us bond and follow instructions, to be able to read fractions, so it's so much that comes out of cooking. But what happens in our society now, parents are rushing, after work, picking them up, taking them to practice, going to Chick-fil-A. Going to Chick-fil-A. So, and I don't want to shout out Chick-fil-A, but that's the example.
But that's the reality of where we are today.
Right. And I did it too. But it really stifles that bonding that moms could have with their children, male or female, when you go to the fast food route. And then it's not as healthy so that's why, I can talk about this all day. So y'all tell me when to stop.
No. Hey, look, you're good because you're actually leading into it right now. Because really, I want to talk about the legacy and the next step. Like really, you're right there, because right now we're at that point where we want to go ahead now and highlight for our folks that are watching, tonight, that are here with us tonight, and anybody that catches this on the playback. As we cut up reels and different things to continue to support this, where can people, who are here in the DMV area, who are maybe for the first time, and I don't know how, just hearing about this, but where can they go, to help support you and your mission? Where can they go to buy tickets? Like, what can they do to attend? Like, please, let's close this segment out and give them a full breath of what they can do to help support you in your cause in this summit.
Okay. They can go to our website, youthempowerme.org. You can purchase tickets there. And I want to say this, our ticket structure is family, just like the whole purpose of the summit is focusing on the family. So we have family packages. So don't get alarmed when you see a family of 2 ticket is $125, say for instance, and that's 2 people. And so each increment, each relative, for instance, if it's mom and dad, each additional person in the family is $15. So we do have affordable ticket prices, because included in that ticket price is breakfast and lunch, as well as all of the giveaways. Cliff, you shouted out the giveaways. We got some wonderful giveaways for the boys.
They fire.
And so, and then the wealth of information that they will receive, that's all included in the ticket price. And I wanted to say that because I want to make sure parents understand that it's a parent-son summit, but you don't have, like, for instance, if it's just mom and son, that's fine. If it's, you don't have to have a spouse to come with you. If you have a spouse or the dad wants to come, then great, because we have ticket packages, family packages for every size family. And we do have a few scholarships, because I don't want to, as they say, leave any parents, any families behind. And I thank you, Damon, for saying, to support me, but let's all say we're supporting the village. And the families are in the village. Indeed. So it's not about I did mention the ticket costs and everything like that, but it really is time for us to really be all hands in, all hands on deck to help our families, because our youth, they are so amazing. They have so many talents and gifts. And unfortunately, there's so many distractions, not only for the youth, but for before us as adults.
Right.
You have so much stuff going on, and one thing about the summit is just I forgot to talk about is that there's we're going to have a fashion show at the end, and the fashion show is to show our boys how to show up. How do you look like a leader? Because a lot of times we really look at the athletes and we look at the entertainers and we try to emulate those as far as the way that we appear and the way that we dress. And in order to be a leader, it has a lot to do with that first impression. How are you showing up, every day? How
That's right.
be intentional about how you look, because it only takes 7 seconds for somebody to size you up.
That's right.
And so we
That's
need
right.
to start teaching these children, especially our boys. It's so important to look like a leader. So that's why we have the fashion show. It's not only for the boys, it's for the parents to sort of show the family unit. So like, for instance, I'm excited because, we're going to allow the parents to dress, the parents to have the same color, everybody had the same shoes, tennis shoes or something like that. And sort of kind of focus on, what does a leader look like? How you represent your family, and things like that. And then we're going to have a pinning. We're going to pin the boys, say some affirmations that they've learned throughout the day. The parents are going to encourage the boys because they're raising kings. We're raising kings.
That's
All
right.
of us as adults who, whether you have nieces and nephews or whatever the case may be, you're the example as an adult for that child. So it's important to be on the same page and to be able to support and help them and to do everything we can together. So all that said is youthempowerme.org is raising kings together, building leaders, strengthening families. And it's April 11th at the College of Southern Maryland, La Plata campus.
CSM.
Yep, CSM is from 8 to 4. And it's going to be a wonderful day to really celebrate our boys, to uplift our families, uplift our parents, and to show, the community. I'm hoping to have, I had a parent that has been participating in my summits. She did an interview on NBC4, so that should be airing pretty soon. And so I just, if they don't live in the community, in the area, if they want to sponsor a family, because I did mention that we have scholarships. I have some mentors that are willing to sponsor a family to be there. So you can donate on our youthempowerme.org webpage. And just share, even if your children you don't have boys or you don't have children within the age range, just share about the nonprofit, because that's what we're doing. We're trying to strengthen our communities one family at a time. And that's all of our communities, whether you live, Cliff, I know you say you're from New York, if you share, and next year, maybe some of the families in New York, if you still have families there with youth, they can come down and participate, because it's an annual thing. We're going to keep going as long as we can.
Well, I love it. Definitely. We're going to continue to support. And I want to go back real quick. Becky, yes. Becky Wells Phillips, an author who's been on the show, and she's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks. Thank you for joining us, Becky. And yes, Olivia does also have an Empower Her summit, which she's
that's
done.
how it started.
That's how it started. So you can go back, Becky, and Olivia's been here a couple of this is what your third time now on the show. But you can go back, Becky. Yes, but she has the same type of summit that started with our young women, and now she's reaching our young men. So she does incredible work here in the DMV area. But definitely go back and check it out. And like you said, please spread the word. For those of you who are here tonight, thank you. But if you have friends and family that are here in the DC, DMV area, that you find or feel that this may be something of purpose for them, and like Olivia said, our community, really connect and tie our community. Definitely spread the word and share the word and share the message. She's doing, like I said, Cliff said, and, she's just been doing incredible work. It is April 11th, so make sure you check it out. We're going to go ahead and just share it again. Saturday, April 11th. You can go ahead and check out the summit. Please go out and support as we work to cultivate and curate leaders, young men and women here in our community. So, Olivia, I thank you so much for taking time out tonight to be here with us. Yes, round of applause to you. You're more than welcome.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome to stay. If not, we're going to go ahead and jump in to our conversation tonight on the second half. We're going to continue talking about empowerment through some other things, but thank you for taking time out. It's always a pleasure to see you, and I hope to see you again real soon.
Oh, same here. So I'm gonna disconnect because I told you I'm a school counselor, so I am going out and I gotta unwind so I can start my day again tomorrow.
Well, thank you again, as always.
So thank you again. And yes, you for that young lady that's going to be on your show, the Empower Her will be next year. So we flip flop and hopefully, spread the word because, we're looking for sponsors and partners. So if we can ever get a sufficient amount of funding, we would do both in the same year. But right now we flip flop. We do the boys. This is the year for the boys, and next year to be for the girls.
All right.
No doubt.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Appreciate you.
Yes, appreciate you, Olivia. Enjoy the rest of your evening. All right. And look, ladies and gentlemen, y'all don't go anywhere. We're going to come back with the second half of our conversation. Sam, Cliff, and I, we're going to jump into it. But before we do, I want to go ahead and thank our sponsors for this segment over at 94 Media House. We'll be right back after this quick break.
94 Media House specializes in transformative digital design that elevates your brand to new heights. Whether you need stunning graphic design, impactful branding, or a captivating web presence, our team is here to bring your vision to life. Join the ranks of successful businesses that trust 94 Media House for their digital design needs. Let's make your brand unforgettable. Contact us today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back fresh out the break. So, fellas, man, we had incredible information and incredible conversation with Olivia in the first half, man. I mean, she's really doing great things, and it just really makes me, ponder, a lot of the things that we all talk about as men of color here on the show. And it just has me kind of thinking about like redefining strength, I guess, if you will. And I want to start, because we talk about sports a lot here on the show. And when we talk about empowerment and vulnerability, when I think it's two ideas that really don't always fit, in a lot of when we look at the sport culture, win at all cost mindset, right? And I want to ask you both, and whoever wants to start, just jump right in. But do you think today's athlete and coaches, let's include them both, are starting to kind of redefine what it is, I guess, if you will, of what's the word, redefine like what real strength looks like, both on and off the field? Because I think listening to Olivia, I think that's a great question, a great jump off point to start with. So anyone of you, whoever wants to jump in, please feel free.
I wanted to real quick, Dame. I wanted to react off of something that she said real quick. I'm gonna be real quick about it because it's just it's important to me, right? When she was talking about just because you come from a separated household with your mom and your dad doesn't mean that the home is broken, right? And I'm just a pure testimony of that, fam, because I keep things 100 on the show. My parents split up when I was 9 years old, right? However, they both communicated. I had them still both in my life on a everyday basis, right? And at the same time, my stepfather came around, my pops Lance came around when I was 15, about 15 years old. And I don't know if people on the outside of the families thought that my families was weird, but my step-pops, my pops, everybody was cool. Because at the end of the day, it was about me, right? It wasn't about what my pops and my mom went through, or wasn't about, my mom's remarrying to my pops. They two men, that's why I feel I was blessed, to have two fathers, because it really showed it when I lost my biological father. When I lost my biological father, it was rough. And to have my step-pops have my back 1,000%. And even when my father was alive, my step-pop still had my back 1,000%. My biological father held me down, like get me into school when I was in New York like that. My step-pops co-signed for me for my first car. You know what I mean? So when she said that just touched me. You know what I mean? And to your point, when you talk, yeah, man, and to your point, when you're talking about coaches and athletes, a lot of coaches, some coaches, especially from our community, are fathers.
That's
fathers to the
That's
athletes,
right?
right? That's all we got. You know what I mean? It's real. I look at Deion Sanders, the way he recruited and scouted his boys from what's that, Jackson State?
Right. He brought them with him. That's right.
Jackson State, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then switched them up, brung them over to Colorado. It wasn't just because he was nice. There's a lot of dudes out there that's nice with the rock. You know what I mean? But it was that bond. It was more than just football. It was actual love. Wanted him to succeed as a man. So
that's right.
I see that in our community, that's very important. You know what I mean? To you got to. And in some areas, we need it. Us, young men, growing up, we need it. So that's my take on it.
Great point, Sam.
I feel like when you look at how we were raised, we come from a time when it was more or less a tough it out era. When it came to just whether it's being out in the field, you have a heartbreak. It's like tough it out, get out there, suck it up and everything.
Yeah.
I feel like we moving more to the resiliency side. And, I just think that strength is kind of evolving right there. I was listening to, even with what Cliff was saying, that's kind of the space that we're in now, when mental health and mental fitness goes right along with your strength and conditioning that you do for your body to make you stronger and better able to perform and everything. Now it's that mental side, because you think about it. You think about certain athletes, Naomi Osaka, Kevin Love, those are a couple that come to mind. Simone Biles, when she had the twisties in the Olympics and everything, but she needed that space, to kind of get her bearings together. So I think that's the key part of it. Like, it's not as much as like suck it up and drive on, because even military minded like myself, that's what I was told for like the majority of my career. It wasn't until like the latter end when it's like, hey, like there's an emotional side, because we break. You know what I'm saying? So what can we do to mitigate or minimize, the mental stress that you're feeling as well too, or that mental weight that be on you at times too. So I think that the short answer, yes, I think that the evolution is there. And I just think that it's just going to continue to grow from where we're at, to kind of have that balance. Like if you coach, counsel, and mentor, you got to think of, that mental aspect of everything too.
You took everything. You took the words out of my mouth because that's where I think the takeaway is really, Sam. I guess that true strength now is in that pause moment.
Yeah.
Where now you speak about the mental health, where vulnerability now is really a weapon,
Yeah.
if you will. You speak on, how athletes are dealing and speaking on mental health and admitting that, this pressure now is really real to them. And I know we come from a different background, like you said, where we don't, you just kind of dealt with it. You got over it. You
Right.
pushed through it, right? But now I think today part of that is really they're unlocking a deeper connection or a deeper human connection, where for us that was like a block or a wall that we really didn't want to engage in. So I agree with you that. And then if you really look at it, if I'm being totally 100, honesty, it really doesn't make them weak, if you will. It makes them just resistant and resilient to those things. And then there's another part, like when I'm listening to both of you, like we talk about the goat, like there's this goat in everything, right?
Yeah.
The focus I think today has shifted from who is the greatest of all times to who is the best version, maybe of themselves,
Yeah.
just period, right? Not trying to, everybody may not be trying to be Michael or LeBron or whoever. They're just trying to be the best versions of themselves. And I think even from tonight's conversation with Olivia, I think the biggest win in all of this is just showing your community how to just fully be a human and just to be as excellent as you can be in your box and in your space. And by connecting those bricks and those blocks, make us all great. So I think that's where it is, and that so hopefully we can build on this momentum, and hopefully tonight's show and tonight's conversation kind of helps that. So that's where I am on that. So we're gonna transition to entertainment.
Yes, sir. So, in entertainment, we see more artists and creators using their voice for empowerment. Sometimes it can feel a little, performative. So, gentlemen, my question for y'all is how can a culture push for authenticity instead of feel good moments that fade once the cameras stop rolling?
Wow.
Hmm.
That's a I think that's a I mean I'll jump in because I think you're right. I think the authenticity sometimes feels very performative, if you will, right? In today's culture, it pushes for real change when it demands like an investment that lasts as long as the cameras are on and are not, they don't stop rolling. I think, man, if I think there's different in action today too.
Yep.
And like performative representation is a handshake, if you will, and a photo op for some. And this is just my opinion. I could be wrong. Authentic representation is deep. It's really a commitment to a system of things. It's really about securing diverse voices, kind of like what we have here, because one voice is not the right voice. And one voice does not command the attention of everyone if you're really trying to build on what we're talking about tonight, empowerment in a community. So I think it's through what we're doing here, not just as a production, but deeper into whether it be in our community, through executive teams, through business, whatever it may be. So I think that's where, for me, the difference is in the action. And how do we create these actions to really take us beyond the token moment?
Hmm. I mean, Dame, you said it best. I mean, you got to practice. You got to have consistency, right? And empowering our young men, right? You don't want to do it just for the cameras, or you don't want to do it just for the kudos. It's real when it's authentic, and that's what it is. It's authentic and caring. right? Because once you stop, it's like you're leaving them young men to just wander off. And
Right.
when we were younger, we would always say, well, when I get older, I'm gonna be able to, I want to be able to speak to them, to my young men to improve their everyday lives, right?
Right.
You see a lot, go around in your neighborhoods and in your travelings when you're growing as a man that you would like to change.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you can't make those changes without having a testimony. So I think giving a testimony to these young men, is what makes a difference to let them know, listen, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there. I bumped my head, right? I had my wins here. I had my losses here. Let me give you some advice on how to improve. And you're not
Right.
alone,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm an open door for conversation. Let them know, it's just that feeling of you're not alone,
Yeah.
right? Some young men don't need it because listen, they got the 2-parent households or they got the older brothers, but there's a lot that doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's who you want to be active with, right? So I mean, but you said it best though. You said it best. But I just think consistency and letting them know that you're giving these young brothers an open door of conversation and leaning on, and you're not better than them. You
That's
was
right.
them, right?
That's right.
That's the most important thing.
Man,
That's the
powerful,
most important
powerful
thing.
stuff.
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
once you look at it, like we're trying to sustain these movements, right? Instead of them becoming stunts. So, like,
That
like
part.
when you think about it,
I
like,
like that.
you
I
know,
I
like
like
that.
that.
you
Yep.
have,
Yep.
hey, look, man, I'll be in my bag sometimes. I told you this pulls out every once in a while, so work with me. But I was just thinking, like, like some conversations or some certain things that we do, instead of it being on a particular day, like an awareness day or something like that, like it should be like an everyday thought or frame
Fact.
of mind. So I think that that's
Fact.
how we get out of some of these circles and what we're talking about as like it being just a movement or a phase, because it's not what you do when the cameras are rolling or the likes are coming in. It's what you do afterwards too. So I think that that's pivot. That's what we need to pivot into. I always get that word mixed up, but that's what we need to pivot into, moving forward, like, just keeping it going, that,
Yep.
that consistency it's so prevalent now because, certain things die down.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the thought and just, people being engaged that needs to keep it going. So I think that's what kind of separate those items from your fly by nights to those who are really, in the trenches and, in the thick of it, trying to make those moves.
Man, go ahead with that. I was waiting in that one, Sarge. Penning that one, dope. Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
We're gonna go ahead, Cliff. What you got for us on as we come to the back end of tonight's conversation when it comes to everyday life? Because we went sports and entertainment and tying it into empowerment, but there is that everyday life feel, and it's really everyday acts of empowerment, in my opinion. But what do you have for us when it comes to that?
All right, so I thought about this, right? You're in Pee Wee sports, junior high sports, you're getting into high school sports, and you're excelling, right? As an athlete. Now you're getting your name out there. You're feeling like you're a superstar before you hit college. And then you get into college, now they got that NIL. You can make millions before you even hit. You can make millions before you even hit the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you hit the league, you're making more millions, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're feeling unstoppable because you're an athlete, because of the success that you're having in sports. However, what about behind the scenes? And that's where empowerment is strong at. What about the mental? Right?
Right.
Why the hell is these young boys that's making millions of dollars committing suicide? What is that about? That's concerning, right? It's because it's where is the the personal love inside. You know, when like what Sam just said, when the cameras is off, right? What's going on inside your household when the cameras is off? Where's the stability at? Or where's the touches at? You know what I mean? You have a family circle, or are you just a cash cow for your family? You know, so if the money dries up, are you just a thought? Right? That's what I think about, and I feel that's what's very important. Okay, and I think that would change a lot of the mishaps that happens to a lot of sport athletes, right behind the scenes. Because you break your leg, you break your Achilles, and you out forever. Now what?
Yeah.
You had $10 million, but you trying to tell me you're not gonna survive?
Yeah.
What? Where's the education at? You know
that part. I think Becky hits it on the head. Some of our young men and women don't have a clear purpose or focus on themselves, and I think that that really ties into this. And Sam, I'm going to defer to you first. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, so Olivia started it off best. Like, it takes a village, right? And those are some of the things that we're lacking in today's society. Just everyone's busy. And, just rewinding like 30, 40 years when we were younger and when we were like kids and teenagers and everything, like wherever you were at, you get in trouble. Guess what? You got to hear it from everybody. You know what I'm saying? And I think some of the challenges or struggles that we have right now is instead of enforcing this, you do have we're too scared to confront, because not only do you have to deal with the kid, but you have to deal with the parents too on how to raise their child. But and I'm not knocking anybody, but that's the issue sometimes. Like, nobody raising a child because everybody's gone. So how do we sit here and, stack on top of this, or how do we make it work? Right. So like low stakes mentorship. I told you, like, whether it's me in the military or me in the civilian sector and I work, I always go by CCM, and that's coach, counsel, and mentor. Sometimes we have to do it silently. Sometimes we have to do it like full force and visible. But I think that's where you kind of like start, whether it's your neighborhood or, any type of function that you go to. Like, I think that's really important. Accountability. That's one of the major things that we're lacking right now. How do you got to enforce certain things, and like we have to hold folks to, whether it's a standard or whether it's their words. We have to make sure that they're accountable for those actions, whether positive or negative. When it comes to that, you tell me you go to do something, my expectation is for you to execute it. And if you don't execute it, then we need to circle back around with that and have that type of conversation. And it's just a conversation. It's nothing to sit here and be flame on and get hostile about. It's just like the cause and effect of whatever it is that you did or did not do. The last thing that I want to talk about too, which I think is important, and I know that I've been victim to this too in my own household, is make sure that you given those micro validations or those small victories, because it leads to bigger things too. And that's how we're talking about empowering. So this is, we don't have to wait for that big thing or that big milestone to happen to sit there and congratulate somebody or pat them on the back. It's those small steps in between of how they're gaining to that point. We have to bring that up. You know what I'm saying? One A could lead to a doggone degree. What I'm saying? Or that diploma. So, one good practice could lead to that touchdown or that state championship or district win or something like that. So, or the small things, you know what I'm saying? Or a debate team. No, let's not just keep it on the field. Let's keep it, whether, you're trying to get your master's, or maybe you want to be an engineer. What steps did you take to get to that? And let's reward you or congratulate you on those fine things, those steps, what I'm saying, it took you to elevate yourself to the point that you're at. So I think if we incorporate a lot of that stuff, then you know what I'm saying, it would be more visible than what it is now.
Yeah. Listen, I think you both hit it, I mean, on the head, and I'm kind of in the same space of what you both are talking about, because I think quiet leadership, uh we need to make that the routine, right?
That's right.
Empowerment, empowerment just doesn't happen on stage. um
Yeah.
for me, in my background and my upbringing, it was a daily demonstration at home and at work and in the neighborhood. Like these, there are a couple of things for me that weren't just a quiet act of leadership. Sam, you touched on it really, like the power of just holding space, and especially at home. And Olivia touched on it. The parent, is about modeling emotional intelligence and giving your kids the tools of everything is not an eruption or is not an explosion, but it is about the micro, support in the sense of, I was always asked every day, like, hey, how are you doing? How was your day? Is everything okay? Even in times of, just asking, hey, how are you just doing, period. And sometimes just staying silent and listening, without judgment can go a long way. And I think,
Yep.
these things need to be reincorporated not only into our homes, but like I said, into our communities. And I know for a fact when I speak on those things, these things are real for me because that's what I have when I've been around you both and your families and our families. These are the things that actually take place. So this is real fact for me. And then
Facts.
the other thing is kind of like, I don't want to say passing the mic, but more so in the workplace, empowerment for those who are really understanding what that looks like from a leadership is about being proactive and like Sam said, crediting, your staff or your co-workers, working if you are in leadership position to mentor them and create opportunities for them, so that not only they can be successful but feel safe and sharing their voice, their opinion, maybe their expertise in something where sometimes in other places that goes overlooked. And you as a leader and as an organization, you're losing out on this person's, potential, and what they have to offer. So sometimes it's about just really restoring belief in what is possible, not only for your team, but for your family and all of those around, like Olivia talked about in our community. So um I'm going to put a pin in it for there because I think we've come to the end of tonight's conversation. It's been a great show. It's been very eye-opening. And before we go though, I want to allow you gentlemen, and I'll start with you, Sam, to share any closing thoughts or anything that you have, maybe about tonight's conversation, and anything that you may be dealing with or have coming up in the future.
Well, I think the key thing, like, let's just bring the village back. I think when it's all said and done, you know, I think it's imperative because, like I say, you think about when we were young and how it did literally take a village. Like, there was no stone that wasn't unturned, or you couldn't badmouth. If you did one bad thing within your neighborhood, then everybody knew about it, and
That's
you were
right.
probably it was probably a stepping stone till you got to the boss level, which was your parents. But that was just the accountability that was there. So
Facts.
and I guess that's what I said at the beginning. Like, it's not necessarily being afraid. It's just like we just need to have that open communication more. So when it does come to the accountability portion of it or aspect of it, it's not all shock and awe. We're not sitting here being judgmental when it comes to a situation that happens. It's just holding everyone or holding to that standard that we're trying to elevate. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, especially when it comes to our kids, we always want them to elevate themselves better than what we are or what we were. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where that accountability piece is very important because, like, if they won't do it on your watch, they shouldn't be doing it on anybody else's watch too.
Agree.
So, like I said, let's
That part.
let's bring that village back, y'all.
Yeah, agreed. Cliff?
Sam hit it right on the head, right? Dame, Sam, listen, man. One of the main reasons why I love being a business owner and sharing the blessing that was given to me so I could be a blessing to others, right? Is to give opportunities and to empower our community, other young men and young women that look like Cliff. Listen, I didn't join your NIAS, which is, your National African American Insurance Association, or your the Black Friday Network, which is a, um, a Black agency organization that inspires Black agencies. I didn't enjoy that. I didn't join those groups just to say, "Oh, I'm part of an all Black organization." No, I did it so I can be some inspiration, so I can help get some opportunities to other young African Americans in our community that looks at this industry that I'm in, an insurance industry, and thought it wasn't for us. Right? No, it is for you. And here's I'm in this opportunity, and I have this platform that I can give you the same opportunity that it was given to me. Right? So to me, that is empowerment, taking your platform and sharing it. Don't be stingy with it, right? Because you lose it just as quick as you got it. Don't be stingy with it. Give that empowerment to your peoples and show them a way out that think they don't have a way out. Yeah. Right? And that's when I think of empowerment and what Olivia is doing, that's what comes to mind, and that's what my passion is as well. And I mean, listen, and with that, you can get at me at www.td3insurance.com. Holla at your boy. It's a movie, you know what I mean? We on point.
Hey, look.
And you can follow Cliff on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're here. That's what Two Mics Up. That's what Two Mics Up is about, right? Exactly. That's what Sam, Dame, and Cliff is about, right?
That's exactly what it is.
Tonight was dope, Dame. Tonight was dope, and it was real.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And like Cliff said, you can get at my amazing co-host. You can definitely get at Sam. You want to hit him up on IG. Old Sarge Gaming. He's a 25-year vet, man. We really appreciate him for his service. He's a gamer. He's a chef. He's a cook. He's co-host here, man, and he brings it real each and every week, man, with the real talk. And same goes for Cliff. He go ahead gave you his plug. We're gonna go ahead and let you plug him again, man. Go ahead and hit him up, man. He's a mentor, man, community host, activist, all that stuff, man. Founder TD3 Insurance. You want to talk business, Cliff is definitely your guy. And without them, man, and without you all as our audience, man, I really appreciate you all being here again, like you are every Tuesday night. And come back next week. Next week we're gonna shift just a little bit. Next week we're gonna get back into the bag. Summertime's coming. We got the bracketology going on with March Madness, so we're gonna talk about where we are in the brackets. We're gonna talk a little NFL draft. We're going all sports next week. So those of you who enjoy a little college basketball, a little NFL, come on back. Becky, I thank you for being here tonight. Becky Wells Phillips, author, who's been on the show. She'll be back in a few weeks. So make sure you tell your friends about it. If you haven't seen her already, she's been on the show. Go back and watch it. You can watch the clips on YouTube. You can go to our website, Two Mics Up. You can get all the past episodes right there. And if you want to follow me and Two Mics Up, you can go ahead and follow Two Mics Up online at www.twomicsup.com. You can follow us at IG, Facebook, X at Two Mics Up. Look, 4-time award-winning show, man. We are coming back looking for a fifth somewhere in here. We bring real talk with the dopest guests, just like we did this evening. So make sure you continue to follow. We thank you all so much. And before we get out of here, I do want to go ahead and just close out with one thing. Tonight has been a great conversation. And, again, deep thanks to Olivia Coffey for sharing her vision, her passion, and her unwavering dedication to empowering lives across our community. Her work through the Empower Youth Foundation continues to spark transformation. And tonight, I think it really reminded us that true empowerment begins when we lift one another with purpose. and please, really think about that. Her upcoming EmpowerMe Summit takes place April 11th, 2026. And it really stands as a powerful call to action. It's a gathering that unites young men and women in dialogue, mentorship, and mutual growth, which we really need. We talked about that great length tonight. This summit isn't just about conversations, it's about creating lasting impact and strengthening the foundation of collective success. And that's what we try to do, through our fun and our serious conversations and our guests here at two mics up. We really want to create a foundation for collective success and empowerment. It's very rare that you have three men of color, three black men, let's be specific, to be able to sit down and bring you the dialogue and the conversations that we try to bring you each and every week. And I take great pride in that because you don't see this often. So I thank these two men for being part of this journey. For those of you who like to attend, though, make sure you go ahead and get those tickets, online at youthempowerme.org, register, contribute, or just find out how you can get involved if you know anyone in the DMV area that may want to. Every step of support helps really expand this vital movement and ensures its legacy, and it really helps it endure. And the same goes for us here at Two Mics Up. If you want to get behind us, you want to become a partner, you want to become a sponsor, you want to join this movement, that's what we're here for. You want to come on and be a guest, reach out to us. That's what we're taking on, all takers and all comers. So until the next time, ladies and gentlemen, continue to lead with purpose, speak with power, and keep pushing our culture forward. So I'm going to say good night to you all. And like we do at the end of each and every segment, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you with a couple of things. May you all stay safe, stay blessed. Mike's out.
Sure.